Hey guys, I'm wearing a hat.
And I'm wearing glasses.
So let's get right into it. Did you enjoy Mad Max Fury Road and think, this could use some more rollerblading?
Well, have we got the film for you?
Starring two of the biggest Hollywood stars, brothers.
Frank Stallone and Joe Estevez. So this is supposed to be the first film that was made with the style of Zen filmmaking, where it's pretty much there's no script, and the director just does whatever he wants.
The plotline for this film is, in a futuristic society, a sword-wielding roller skater fights evil ninjas, punk roller skaters, and is sent on an important rescue mission. You know, it's like Aziz Ansari says, the hardest part about rollerblading is telling your parents you're gay. Alright, so let's get into it. So the film starts out with the bad guy sending Charles Manson into the Wheel Zone.
What is the Wheel Zone?
We have no idea at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. Then Sister Sparrow meets with the Hamburglar inside his fort tent. Then cut to our main protagonist, Hawk, who is sitting in a hot tub, surrounded by women, wearing a full-piece suit.
Hello. Yes, Donaldo. Abducted? A couple of things to take care of, and I'm on my way.
The editing in this film features some bizarre choices. It feels like an entire script's worth of exposition is jammed into the first few minutes. At this point, we had no idea what was going on.
Absolutely zero.
So Fabio enters on a motorcycle. Then we cut to the scene of him walking, where it seems like they were just sort of jamming him in to get the 90-minute runtime.
Well, but they were doing that throughout the whole film, though.
That's true. Then, in the most ambitious crossover in film history, Hawk meets the Hamburglar back inside his bed fort. He is told that his sister has been kidnapped and he must go inside the Wheel Zone.
Wait, sister?
His sister.
My sister? That became your sister? Yes, our sister. You must go now to rescue her.
Like the old show, Sister. He's got to save the twins.
Is that a show?
Yeah. His reward for going inside the Wheel Zone? A new bride.
Well, this time your reward shall be a new bride. The bride? I've not had one of those for a year or more.
I would go for much less.
So the title finally appears. We made it. We're in the Wheel Zone.
Yay!
So the first part inside the Wheel Zone is kind of hard to understand because I don't think they had the correct microphones working or they were just too far away.
Going forward, Mr. Madison Monk? That's we dare Madison Monk. Well,
Then cut to Joe Estevez doing some aerobic. Now we think that we're going to have our first fight, but it just ends up with him sort of staring her down and then walking away.
They just pretty much stare at each other. That's it.
So Hawk runs into this guy inside the Wheel Zone who's wearing hot pants. And this guy is very important to the plot, even though there isn't much of a plot. But he is sort of the Agent Coulson of this film because he connects them all.
Can I just say he's my favorite character in this movie, though? There's
a lot of characters that are like...
Mm.
They haven't even seen the clown guy yet. Or woman.
Don't spoiler.
We don't even know if it was a guy or girl.
True.
So we have our first fight scene, and he throws he throws the knife, and she catches it with her mouth, and she cuts him with what looks to be the equivalent of a cut you would get when you're shaving.
And this fight scene is where they start using the same scene over and over again.
Yes, this is where we first get our first glimpse of the beautiful editing of this film, the masterpiece, the artistic value in filmmaking when we have a scene just sort of repeat over and over again.
They make the weird choices of what they want to emphasize and repeat with their cutting and editing, but it's just... Honestly, that's just to fill up time. That's what I think.
Here's the scene to show you, to prove to you the editing is a little obscure and out there.
That's their editing, not ours.
We did not touch this clip, so here it is. thought to myself, any amateur editor could do this. And this is our second video, so I'm very much an amateur editor.
Yep.
Maybe I'm a bad one. I don't know. Tell me in the comments. Yes. So I decided to recreate this in our backyard. So take a look. By the way, we haven't mentioned this yet. They're on rollerblades, which seems a bit excessive because they're on sand at some point. So it seems like not a good footing for a sword fight.
It doesn't seem practical that you'll be wearing rollerblades on the sand.
So he goes to see a psychic in the middle of the desert.
Which we need to say, it's the best actress in the whole movie.
Well, I mean, in terms of watching it, I wouldn't say that. But she's played by Karen Black. She was nominated for an Oscar in 1971. Like a real Oscar. A golden one. Not one in the back alley that they made up for this film. And she won 2 Golden Globe Awards.
I mean, it still will prove that awards don't mean anything.
That's true.
And
I'm after that, I'm sure they say every time, if you ever win an award, it's nothing but uphill from there. This is proof.
Nope. That's not how it works.
So this next part I love because she gives him what's supposedly a magic mushroom. But it looks like she got it from, like, the grocery store. Like,
yeah, it's just the regular white mushrooms that you get, like, at a Walmart. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's mushrooms. It's not.
And then it starts to feel like this sort of fever dream that sort of lasts throughout the film, for me at least. So after we go on this trip, we meet another rollerblader in not a bikini, in a swimsuit. It's because it's a one piece. Yeah,
it's one of those, like, swimsuits that women will wear, like, in the late 80s, early 90s, you know what I mean? Like, the high-rise ones.
It's very high-risen.
Yeah.
They have Sister captive in the next scene. They strip her down into her lingerie, which, as we all know, all nuns wear lingerie under their nun outfits.
Of course. If you've ever seen a nun without their, like, nun outfit, they're wearing lingerie. There's no wrong.
It's just a known fact. I did a lot of studying for this. Like, Brazzers, Bang Bros. And I can confirm that that's how it works. That's how the world works. Yeah. And we say seemingly because it sort of jumps over the timeline, I think, and we don't know what's happening.
You'll see, but to this point, I have no idea what's happening.
Then, if this film couldn't get any weirder, a clown and a guy playing a banjo show up.
With hockey gloves.
So you can sort of tell that, like, this song is supposed to be like a banjo being picked, like, you know, picking, but he's strumming it with a hockey glove on.
He's a visionary in the banjo playing business.
Now a guy in camouflage shows up. Yeah. We have no idea who these characters are at this point. They're just coming in over and over again. Yeah. This is like a rotating cast.
I just have to mention, though, the producers of this film, they have an idea that camouflage, the type that he's wearing works forever environment. But if I have any bit of understanding about camouflage, he should be wearing a specific one for the desert.
Yeah, he should. He's wearing, like, camouflage for jungle.
Like, for the jungle, yeah. So that suit would actually make him being spotted, like, from miles away.
Now we're here for I'd say, my favorite fight scene, if you could call it that. This is where Frank Stallone, who we get our appearance. By the way, Frank Stallone is in this, and it feels like he just showed up for the check, like, one day. They filmed all his stuff in one day. What happens here is we see a foggy eye creature, like you would in the show Lost, right?
Yep.
Smoky eye creature. Yep. This film is ahead of its time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It served as inspiration for a lot of shows and films.
I see a lot of Kill Bill in this.
Definitely. There's a bride. There's swords.
I think Tarantino ripped off this film. So the best thing about this fight scene is they don't really actually use their swords. They just sort of hold them up and sort of rotate around each other. And how would you think this fight ends? It ends with Hawk just sort of walking off into the woods.
Can I just say, don't remember this fight scene at all from the movie from when we watched.
I made her watch this.
I did.
So, cut to our hero, if you can call him that, Hawk.
Mm-hmm.
He has to learn how to rollerblade because you're in the wheel zone. You have to learn how to rollerblade. And then there's a scene where he's like learning to rollerblade, and he sort of falls over, and it feels like he's
actually learning how to
learning the
rollerblade, and they just left that in the movie for some reason.
He's like, he wrote a script where he's like, let's do a film about rollerbladers, but I don't know how to rollerblade. Again, I have to ask, why does he have to learn how to rollerblade? Wouldn't he be a better swordsman on a flat footing?
Not in this world. Not in the wheel zone. But then suddenly the rollerblades just disappear and he's magically wearing shoes again.
Yes.
And then he starts fighting
And that makes him better, though, which makes him better. So that
Which, again,
proves my point that
why is he wearing rollerblades in the
he
first
should
place?
not be wearing rollerblades. So Banjo guy returns
Yep.
with a group of misfits, and they seemingly are going to attack Hawk.
But then they start fighting against each other, which doesn't make really much sense because they came together. Do you know what this scene actually reminds me of? Have you seen that video on YouTube? Where it's like those goth people just like dancing, banging heads under like a bridge.
Oh my god, and like the...
Yeah, I don't know why, it just reminds me of that video.
It is. That was the cast. That's the reunion special. The main bad guy, which we thought was Estevez up to this point, but this guy seems to be the main bad guy. He's in a wheelchair, and he's riding a skateboard, kind of. He's being pushed, but he's got a skateboard under his feet.
For some reason.
Yeah, because he's radical.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring him up is because this is Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of the slums.
And then for some reason we're also still getting credits.
Oh yeah.
Like midway through the movie.
We're 45 minutes in and we're still getting credits. Swimsuit Girl shows up finally.
Yep.
And she's gonna fight 3 ninjas. Mm-hmm. Let me just say that this bathing suit has been hiked up. Because if you have a weak script, you gotta fill the film with sex.
And that means booties and titties.
It shows Hawk between her legs, and he's got his sword out.
I know.
And then cut to the next scene where he's pulling his sword out. So he seemingly had the sword out, put it away, put it back.
Because he's such a talented sword fighter.
Yeah. Sword fighter? Is that what?
I don't know if that's the word. Ninja?
I think he's
Samurai?
Samurai.
Swordsman? Whatever he is. That, I mean, he was just showing off his skills.
So Hawk and the girl sort of form this bond just by looking at each other. Also, the clown joins them, and also this guy is doing this. The Mecca of villains shows up. Garbage Can Ninja, as I called him.
He's just wearing this, like, full body armor kind of thing.
Yes.
We have to mention, too, that from what they mentioned so far, the Wheel Zone is, like, this really hot place, like, really like the
That's
desert.
true,
So he must be, like, frying up inside that suit.
And what better introduction to the Trash Can Ninja than bumping into the camera?
He couldn't see properly inside that suit. Like, give the poor guy a break. Yeah.
The big fight scene. Here we go, and... And one kick and he's done. Camo guy shows up again and revives him. Like, somehow.
With some magic.
It could be. Anything's possible inside the Wheel Zone. But then Banjo Man comes back.
I hate Banjo.
He
hate banjos.
And then this happens. So we're getting another sort of possible fight. We get Hawk on one side, Ninja on the other side. I don't know if he's someone we're supposed to know. I think he's just a ninja. So they're running like head on at each other. And it reminds me of like that Naruto guy, like heading into like Area 51.
Of Rachel, Nevada at 6:30. Reporting live.
And what is again supposed to be a great fight scene ends in one swing.
They did not have much choreography for the fight scenes.
Well, there's a budget. which we found out was like somehow they $300,000 went in this film.
I don't know where they spent $300,000.
$100,000 went to Frank Stallone. $100,000
to Joe
went to
Estevez.
and $100,000 to Karen Black.
Everybody else worked for free.
And then we see them practicing with their swords because you got to practice with your swords just in case you ever have to use them in this film.
Yeah. Which they haven't yet.
You don't have to use them in this film.
No, basically you can't, like...
A nice soft kick to the stomach
Will do the job.
Will do the job. I want to say the weirdest scene in the film, but I mean, this whole film is just
That's
weird.
an understatement, yeah.
The clown and the girl just start dancing. And then Hawk joins in, and that's the scene.
I'm starting to understand what Zen filmmaking actually is. It's using elements from a lot of different styles of film, and that was from silent movie.
You know what I think Zen filmmaking means? Just going to the desert and lighting $300,000 on fire. And then Bono shows up.
Utility Ninja. Utility Ninja sums up.
So he kills the clown.
I like the clown.
Yeah, it's a poor clown. Which the clown was a villain at the beginning, but somehow
she became the good guy.
Yeah, it was quite the character arc in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
We didn't mention the guide. There's a guide in this, a spiritual guide, and she sort of appears, then disappears, then appears again, and then disappears.
Again, I don't remember that. My brain, at this point, shut off.
Now, Swimsuit Girl, again, we haven't learned her name, but Swimsuit Girl, she gets kidnapped, and she gets whipped, and she gets covered in snakes.
Yeah. There was no snakes in this movie until now.
Do you think Scott Shaw, I can just picture him like going out and collecting these snakes himself just to save some money. Now we get a long monologue from the bad guy, which
I don't remember anything he said.
we just sort of like right over our heads. At this point, we're just sort of like surviving to get through this movie. We checked the time on this film about 15 times, and it just kept going.
This movie is about 89 minutes too long.
We watched The Irishman, and I think The Irishman felt like it was The Irishman's like 3.5 hours, and it went by faster than this film.
Definitely.
So the next part is kind of hard to even understand, which I don't even know if I can show it on YouTube because I don't want to induce seizures. It's just a flashing light for a good 10-15 minutes, and I'm not 100% sure what's going on, but something must have happened because then it gets to the end of the film.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was happening for a good chunk of the movie. So, at this point, I just want to see this movie through.
It was a goal. We needed to do it.
I just want to get it over with.
But then we get the hamburger, and he marries the swimsuit girl and Hawk, which I think it's the swimsuit girl, or
I think it is.
I'm gonna assume it's her.
That's the bride that he was promised.
See, he foresaw. And he gives them a sword as a gift. And another one of my favorite lines from the film is this.
Thank you, Father Donaldo.
It still has a lot of killing left to do. Go in peace.
Thank you, Father.
And then they ride off into the sunset.
Which I need to say, that poor girl riding on a motorcycle on a full wedding dress, that is not an easy feat.
So, end of film. Oh, but wait. There's not. It's not an end of film because there's more. And what we get is them riding away on the motorcycle and two people with guns who, again, don't know. Never been introduced.
Up until now.
She's aiming to shoot at them. She's literally right beside them, but can't seem to pull the trigger.
No. For like a good 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, we gotta stretch that to the 90 minutes. So we gotta get to the 90 minutes.
Yep. And his bride dies,
Well,
but he survives.
We don't know.
No.
Because
Her body mysteriously disappears.
her body disappears. They're
Yeah.
laying on the ground. He gets up.
And the only reason why they made that scene is to explain the two sequels that this movie spawned. Like,
This film
there's
has
two
two
sequels.
sequels, which we will not watch.
Are you sure?
We're not watching them. This film basically was not a film. It was more like a 90-minute music video. And that's the Samurai 7.
That's not what the movie is called. The movie is called The Rollerblade 7. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe, and we'll try and make more videos because we are having fun with this.
If you have any suggestions for bad films too, we're looking. We're looking always to find new stuff.
Yeah, not just bad films. Like, whatever you think it would be fun for us to comment about, just send it to us on the comments or whatever. And we'll do it. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Name of this, ride me. You stink. You stink.